We're back with more Seattle Real Estate Radio with your hosts, Christian Nossum and Dan Keller.
Hey, welcome back to Seattle Real Estate Radio on KKOL 1300 Business Radio. We are, just a quick reminder, we're here every single Monday from 3 to 4. We're here on, they're replaying our broadcasts now on Saturdays. So if you
Saturdays,
missed it,
5 to 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every Saturday.
And then if you want to, you can listen to us streaming live on iHeartRadio.
Yep.
You can go to seattlerealestateradio.com and watch any previous video, podcast, all that stuff. So we're everywhere.
Yeah, and it's more important than ever with the guests that we're getting, the high-quality guests that we're getting. I encourage all of our listeners, just jump on over to Seattle Real Estate Radio.
Yeah.
Look at the archive guests, archive interviews. It's pretty. There's
some gold
phenomenal,
in those,
tons of gold.
in those previous interviews that we've had. I mean, there's a lot of knowledge.
Yeah. Well, speaking of gold, today we've got the gold in the sky. I mean, this is, I don't even know. This is going to be
an amazing segue. That's the best segue you've
it?
ever had in the show's history.
I don't know. I told Keith before he came on, I'm so excited about today's show because I know it's intriguing to me because I know absolutely nothing about it but want to know.
Yeah.
So I'm a student over here today.
All right. So now that we've teed him up, I'm going to give him a little bio and explain who the heck Keith is. So today we welcome West Seattle natural energy owner and designer Keith Hughes. Keith and his family have been an active part of the West Seattle community for the past 36 years. After 15 years with Boeing in facilities and construction project management, Keith spent a decade working as a computer system architect at Swedish. So he has a pretty good, vast array of knowledge right there. He started West Seattle Natural Energy with his family in 2008. Great time to start a...
terrific time.
Terrific time. We were all in the business at that point. And wow. But obviously you've done well because it's still thriving.
Still going.
It's a company that's dedicated to the design and installation of renewable energy systems, including solar PV and small wind energy systems. Keith is a well-known renewable energy speaker for public audiences, technical students, and several architectural and engineering firms, including Northwest Seed workshops, and has taught renewable energy classes at Shoreline College. So,
welcome, Keith.
Kind of a big deal to have him in studio because he's a renowned expert on this subject. So, first off, Keith, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate your time and for sharing your knowledge with our listeners and our guests, or our studio audience, as well as everybody on the air. So first off, give us and give our listeners a basic description of what just renewable energy in general is.
Renewable energy covers a fairly wide spectrum.
Yeah.
We in the industry like to think that it's just the solar industry, but it's really not. Renewable has a definition. It has a context. Seattle City Light says they're the most renewable power company in the nation. That's because they get their electricity from hydroelectric dams.
So that's how they can say
that's a renewable energy source. It rains, it puts more water in the rivers,
That's
it
funny.
runs through their dams, they get more electricity.
Yep.
When we talk about renewable energy, we're talking about solar energy, wind energy, and then a couple of smaller pieces. There's biomass generators out there, that sort of thing. That's also something that you're not taking away from the environment.
Yeah.
You're using a resource that will continually be there and continually refresh itself.
Is geothermal something like that too? Is that even a thing out here though?
Geothermal is part of the renewable energy industry, and it is a very viable alternative to standard heating systems. Geothermal, again, it is a renewable energy source.
Yeah, so that's part of that as well.
Yes.
Cool. All right. So let's talk solar. In Seattle, a lot of people, whenever I'm showing a house and it has solar on it, they go, why the hell would they put solar? This is Seattle. It's always cloudy. They can't work here. So let's debunk that myth right now. Why don't you do that for us, Keith?
Urban myth number one. And I address this in all the seminars that I do,
sure,
home shows and real estate offices and everywhere, is that very question, will it work here? Does it really work? Is it really worth it?
Yep.
The answer to all those is yes. So one of the scientific level things that you have to get down to when you're talking about solar and solar energy is that the principle of photovoltaic electricity is based on UV radiation.
Okay.
So it's not just ambient light. It actually has to be direct sunlight, and it's the UV radiation spectrum that actually creates the electricity. Well, any one of us, and especially in the Northwest, who've had the unpleasant experience of going to the beach on a cloudy day.
Yeah, I think
and
we've all been there.
Don't take our suntan lotion because it's a cloudy day, and we come home with a nasty sunburn.
Yeah.
That's UV radiation.
That's this pasty white Norwegian guy right here. Every
It
time.
works on a cloudy day because UV radiation penetrates
goes
the
through the
clouds,
clouds.
and it still makes electricity.
Got it. So my pasty white, very easily sunburnt skin is a perfect solar panel conductor, basically, is what
It
you're
is,
telling me.
yes. If you could put a whole bunch of little wires on your cheeks, you could make electricity.
Well, let's not do that though. I'd rather just buy a panel and put it on my roof. So it does work in Seattle, is basically what you're
It
saying.
does work
It doesn't
very well.
need direct sunlight with a clear sky. It works regardless of if there's clouds or not.
Yes.
Cool. All right. So now that we got that one debunked, what's another like kind of basic myth that people have? Are there any others that? I mean, that's the biggest one I can think of, but
It's the biggest one out there, and then the other ones are, I guess urban myth number 2 is you have to have batteries. 25 years ago, yes, you had to have batteries, but in the last 25 years, those solar has come a long ways. The real new technology out there in our world has been the inverter technology. So solar panels make DC power.
okay.
We don't use DC power very much. We use AC power. So in our homes, you've got to take that DC and make it into AC. That's called an inverter.
Okay.
That's where the big technology change has been, is in the inverters. And with the new inverters, they will invert that power directly to match the grid to 240 volts, 60 hertz power.
Perfect.
So you don't have to go through a battery bank anymore to accomplish that goal. So no more having to mess with batteries and have acid in your garage and that sort
Yeah.
of thing. It's all direct
you can
grid
just,
tied,
tie it right
direct
in.
access.
So explain to me real quick, and I apologize if this is a silly question.
It's super silly. I'm gonna laugh.
Well, but here's the thing: the solar panel. So I'm on your website right now. This is a phenomenal website, by the way, in regards to
what is the website?
It's WestSeattleNaturalEnergy.com, and I actually clicked on the facts. He's got 5 interesting facts on solar energy, which is pretty neat. But so if I have a house with solar panels on it, I'm not taking direct energy from the panels and electrifying, if you will, or using that energy right now on the spot in my house. That energy is going somewhere else. Am I right? Or am I using that energy to turn on my appliances?
You are using that
Okay.
energy directly. Yes, it's going through an inverter to make it compatible with
Got
your
it.
house.
Okay.
But the end result of a solar system on your roof is a breaker in your breaker panel.
Uh-huh.
So we're taking the energy off the solar panels,
Okay.
collecting that, running it through an inverter process to make it match the grid,
Okay.
and putting that directly into a breaker in your in your breaker panel. So it is going directly to use.
Okay, it is. So then at night, silly question, dark at night, how do I get energy at night? Does it store? Does it store up?
What we do here, when you're in town, if you're out in the middle of nowhere where there is no electricity available, it's a different type of thing called off-grid.
Okay.
But in the normal situation we have, you're making energy when the sun is shining.
Okay.
Most of us are not home during the day.
exactly.
The sun is shining during the day. So what's happening is your system's making that electricity. It's going into your electrical system. You're not using it at that moment. So what's happening is it's passing right through your breaker panel. It's going back out through your meter, which is turning your meter backwards.
Got it.
Which is putting credit on your electric bill.
Okay, so that's where I'm getting
That's
at with
awesome.
these
That's where
questions.
you're
'cause
getting
that's
it.
what I've heard from, talking to people about solar energy,
Yeah.
that somehow it went into a bank and you got credit for it. And so I'm trying to put this together. Okay, got it.
So that's happening
Okay.
on the grid, on
Got
the
it.
wires out there. You're putting it into the
Okay.
wires. That becomes your storage bank all day, and you're using it up at night. You're using up your
Cool.
credits
Your
at
credit.
night.
Got it. Very
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really neat.
pretty
So you're
crazy.
basically selling power to the whatever utility
Giving power.
company.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. That's one. That's another thing on my list of urban myths.
Yeah.
And I don't even know, nobody seems in our industry seems to know where it came from.
People like me probably.
Yeah, it seems that everybody that walks up to my home shoe booth has got this statement about. And I heard if you're making more power than you're using, you're selling it back to the electric company.
Yeah.
No, you're getting credit for it.
Yeah.
And we make that distinction because if you were selling it, you would be a utility, and now you would have to register with the state and pay taxes.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
And we don't want to do that.
No.
We're going to call it credit.
Yeah. All right. So, big question. What does it cost to install solar panels and maintain them? That's a huge question. We got a couple minutes to go over it, and we can always go into it more if we need to.
It's a huge question, and it'll probably take a little longer than you think. But because to me, that is equivalent to walking up to a dealer and saying, "What does a car cost?"
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, because do
depends.
you want a Kia or do you want a Mercedes Benz?
Yeah.
Solar panels don't have that wide a variety, but the thing that determines the cost when we design a solar system, we design it based on your actual electrical use.
Got it.
So if you can tell me what your average daily electrical use is, I can tell you what a solar system will cost you. And that's different for everybody because everybody's use is different.
Exactly. So can I look that up somehow so that I can tell you what that is?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
It's on your electric bill, whether you're Puget Sound Energy or Seattle City Light or any of the others in this state. Everybody's electric bill has got a little block on it somewhere with a little bar graph.
Yeah.
You've seen it.
Yep.
And beside that is telling you what your use is. And then beside that, there's a little statement that says
number.
Your average daily use.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
And with that number, then I can tell you if you want to generate 100% of all the electricity you're currently using, I can tell you, within 1 or 2% what a system will cost you to offset your total electrical use.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
This is great info. And we're going to hit on this when we come back. But what I really want to know, I have to believe that the energy companies are behind solar. They've got to be. Yeah? No?
They are to a certain extent. There's a lot of politics involved, as with anything. But yeah, they do promote it. They do back it. They don't fight us openly. But let's face it, to some people out there, we're the competition.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, we're going to hit on that when we get back. So,
all right, so stay tuned. We're going to have more from Keith Hughes from West Seattle Natural Energy after the break.
We're back with more Seattle Real Estate Radio with your hosts, Christian Nossum and Dan Keller.
Hello, and welcome back to Seattle Real Estate Radio here on KKOL 1300 AM. We are back with Keith Hughes from West Seattle Natural Energy, and he is educating us all about solar. And it's a big deal. And it's not, we were just talking during the break, it's not who you think is buying it.
yeah. No, we should have had the mics rolling during the break because that was a really good conversation.
That was a great conversation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's just I just wrote down a couple of our talking points over the break, but let's jump into that. So, my general, just thinking about solar prior to our meeting, prior to having you on today, maybe my myth around solar was that it was for the affluent. It was very expensive, and that only people that had a lot of money could afford to convert their energy system to solar.
Yeah.
Tell our listeners what you told us over the break, because it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Solar, the price of solar has come way, way down.
Yeah.
That's one thing to just remind people of. If you looked at solar a number of years ago, look again.
Mm-hmm. So even like 5-10 years ago?
Yeah, 5 years ago, our company's normal pricing for a solar system today is half of what it was 5 years ago.
Wow.
Okay, so huge difference in what solar costs. So it's not...
So the next question, real quick, to piggyback, do you see that decreasing in half again over the next 5 years, or is it kind of at the point where it's going to pretty much stabilize?
The solar industry was kind of a niche industry.
Yeah.
And so it did kind of cater to the upper echelon.
Yep.
But when the Chinese jumped into the market and flooded the market, that forced all the fat out of the system.
Nice.
So companies in the U.S. that wanted to stay in business had to get real.
Yep.
had to get their act together and get their costs down, and they did that. And those that did it well are still in business, and the others are gone.
Yeah.
So it's it's a good, solid industry now. However, just with normal inflation and things of life, what I'm seeing starting about 6 months ago is the prices are starting to creep up a little bit. Not hugely, but the movement in the last 6 months has been an upward movement. And I see that kind of continuing because the price of the base materials that solar panels are made out of is going to go up. Things like aluminum and copper.
Yep. Well, copper especially
That's going
is
up.
Yeah.
So panel prices are going up a little bit.
Okay.
But
So it's kind of bottoming out price-wise.
it has bottomed out.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Well, you mentioned over the break too. What is your, I don't want to say your average, but what is your most common demographic right now that's converting and using solar?
Our typical client, if we had one, is couples in their homes that have been there a number of years that are within 5 years of retirement.
And that just blew my mind.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me because I would not think that someone that's going into retirement would think about doing that or would even want to do that. But it also makes sense and explain why.
And it even comes back to me. That's when I started thinking about solar systems, because when you're get about 60 years old, the future of retirement is in front of you. You're realizing it.
Right there.
And you're saying, to yourself and your spouse, look, in 5 years, I'm going to retire and our income is going to be, half of what it is now.
Exactly.
How do we get our expenses down so we can stay in our house and maintain roughly the same lifestyle we have now with less income?
Yeah.
And so getting your monthly expenses down is critical.
Yeah, down and fixed.
Yes,
so you're not going to have to worry about
if you can stabilize it, it's great. So that's why an awful lot of people in their early 60s are buying that brand new car that's going to last for 10 years.
Exactly.
And this is another one of those things. You can fix your electric costs basically for the rest of your life by buying a solar system now, because you're prepaying your electric bill for a system. These systems are guaranteed for 25 and 30 years.
Yeah. Wow.
So
I didn't know that part either.
Pay for it now, no more electric bills for the next 30 years.
Wow.
So I'm going to put Keith on the spot. What kind of car do you drive, Keith?
Chevy Volt,
Oh.
plug-in hybrid.
Nice.
So this guy is all about.
He's preaching.
He's practicing what he preaches. I love it, man. That's awesome.
And my head electrician drives a Nissan Leaf, and my two salesmen both drive electric cars, plug-in electric cars.
Okay.
Nice.
This guy speaks electric.
Yeah.
He lives electric. That's it.
Yeah.
So
I got a few clients that have electric cars, so I'm gonna have to turn them into talking to you about getting their house, renovating their houses to have solar.
Well, I think this is going to open up a lot of people's minds and their eyes to maybe taking a look at solar, where I had no idea. That's what caught me off guard over the break, where that your average demographic that's using solar, it's because they want a fixed budget. Well, I have a lot of clients. You and I both have a lot of very conservative clients that not necessarily want a deal, but they run their lives by a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So what if you could control? What if we could introduce you to them and say, hey, I know you're conservative. I know you like to be down to the penny every single month. What's coming in and what's going out.
Yep.
Here's a great option for you to look at.
Yeah. So that's huge. I didn't realize solar was like that.
Yeah. Well, one of the other things that we were talking about that was kind of intriguing, I would have thought that the government and energy companies would be 100% behind solar just because it's clean, it's renewable.
Yeah.
Elaborate on what you told me over the break. You would think.
We're in a period of a little bit of controversy over the solar industry. In general, yes, the electric industry supports the solar industry. Puget Sound Energy, Seattle City Light, both put out a lot of information to their customers, and they support the industry.
Maybe on the face of things
on the big picture.
Yeah.
But there is some underlying current, and there's been some publicity about some other states that have had some real issues with the solar industry. And the problem is that if, say 20% of all the homes in Seattle put in solar systems, so they were basically not paying electric bill anymore. That's a hit on the maintenance system. So not only does the company have to make some money to buy that electricity from Bonneville Power Administration so they can pass it to you, they've got to maintain the infrastructure. And as we all know, if you don't keep up on maintenance,
Yeah.
that bill can kill you in the end. So
Yeah.
there's, if we were all using solar, we are not, and the other people in my industry, other companies hate me for saying it, but I agree with the utility companies that we need to be paying our fair share of the infrastructure costs. So
I mean, if
when
we're
we
utilizing
resolve
it
that
makes sense.
little
Yeah,
piece of
yeah.
the puzzle, then I think we'll really have 100% backing from the electric companies.
So what you're saying is typically when we go and we fill our gas tank, part of that $2.50 a gallon is a road maintenance tax.
Yes.
So by not using gas, you're kind of dodging that
Your
tax, or you're
electric
taking away.
car
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
my electric
Yeah.
car, I spend about $25 a month on gas. So I'm not paying very much in gas taxes. I'm not doing my fair share
Yeah.
to continue with road maintenance, and that's frankly a problem that needs to be solved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
No,
the
that makes
great,
sense.
yeah, but the
Yeah.
great thing is you acknowledge it, but then you say, hey, yeah. So when it comes to renewing my tabs, I'm open to paying an additional tax because you support roads being maintained and not having to drive through potholes in your
Yes.
Volt. Because then you got to replace a tire, gas, whatever. So no, this is great, great info. I want to ask you this: are there incentives from the electrical companies to convert to solar? I would think there would be.
There are incentives out there to help you make a good financial decision
Okay.
with going with solar.
Okay.
They're not, in general, they're not electric company incentives. Okay. So the primary incentive is the federal income tax credit,
Okay.
which is 30% of your total contract. So
Okay.
that's labor and material.
Okay.
You get 30% of that back as an income tax credit. Now, this is not a reduction of your income. It's not a deduction. It's an actual credit.
Yeah.
So
Great.
if you owe Uncle Sam $5,000,
Yeah.
but you bought a solar system and you've got $6,000 worth of credit, you owe nothing.
Okay.
And next year you have $1,000 of credit still because that credit never goes away. Once it's a credit on your account, it stays there until you use it up.
Okay.
And then there's a state rebate.
Okay.
So you have two levels. There's a state level rebate that the state of Washington instituted a number of years ago, about 6 years ago, to help people with the cost of solar systems as well and encourage the use. And that incentive is based on the production of your system. So you get paid for the number of kilowatt hours that you produce. So even though you use the kilowatt hours you produce, you get paid for them anyway.
Okay.
So you're really getting paid twice. You're saving that money on your electric bill, and you're getting paid for it by the state.
Got it. Okay, that's huge. Federal and state incentives, so that's big. We got about 2 minutes left with you, Keith. I think it's important to understand. Give our listeners kind of an average ballpark idea. If you were to convert your home to solar, what does your average customer pay from, estimating it out to install everything?
Our average system cost is about $25,000. Okay. It would be a real close average. And if you look at the average home in Seattle, Seattle City Light says the average home is using about 30 kilowatt hours a day of electricity, and a $25,000 system will produce about 80% of that. So you're reducing your electric bill by about 80%.
Okay.
The other question we get a lot is, what do I have to spend in order to have no electric bill?
Yeah.
Well, the state incentive is roughly equal to what you're paying for electricity. So if you're saving 12 cents on your electric bill and the state's paying you 12 cents, if you put in a system that makes 50% of your electricity,
There you go.
the incentive pays the other 50%, you have no electric bill.
Wow.
Got it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Wow.
So about 25 grand to get it installed, and then you're essentially getting free electricity, essentially, right?
For the next 30 or 40 years, yes.
And the way that you guys operate at West Seattle Natural Energy, you guys guarantee some stuff. So
Yes. The entire system is guaranteed. The hardware is all guaranteed for 25 years.
Wow.
We have some premium panels that are actually guaranteed for 30 years.
Wow.
So, and then, and we use all American products. The companies we get our products from, guarantee their products, and even to the point that if something goes wrong with a piece of your system, it's still not going to cost you anything, because I'm going to come out and replace the bad parts, and the manufacturer is going to pay me for my time for having to do that.
Wow.
So for 25 years, you're getting free electricity, and you're not paying for anything that goes wrong.
No maintenance at all.
Just keeping them clean.
Wow.
They are window glass. You
Yeah,
must keep
you gotta
them
clean
clean
'em.
so the sun will shine through.
Makes sense.
Well, we got to let you go. You got to get back to work. You're running a big business. When we come back, though, we're going to actually talk a little bit more about Keith and what they're up to. This was just phenomenal. So.
Yeah. We're gonna give some more contact info and read a little bit more about you guys in the next segment. So stay tuned for more about West Seattle Natural Energy after the break. This is Seattle Real Estate Radio.